So I want to talk to you for a few minutes about this National Association of Realtors, or NAR, settlement that came down starting August 17th, 18th. There's a lot of confusion out there, and I have heard a lot of people tell me I'm lying. I've had people yell at me about it, and I've had people not understand it. And I understand, change sucks. Nobody likes change. It is just, it's very unfortunate, right? We like things the way they are for a reason, but unfortunately, in this case, we're having to make a change. And the reason for that is simple. Sellers felt that commission wasn't clear. Who was paying it, how much was being paid, and that the fact that it has always been negotiable, right? So they brought a lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors, and we've had to make some changes because of that. Now, our team is the #1 relocation team in the area, and we've worked very, very hard to make sure we educate our clients, especially because most often they're coming from another state. North Carolina has had buyer agency agreements and listing agreements that lay out the terms of who's getting paid what, but oftentimes sellers either don't read it, or they read it and don't understand it, or they just sign it without reading it. I think that's a shame. Agents should be covering that information with their seller clients and not just shooting paperwork off to them and having them sign whatever. So, how does this affect you? I have absolutely no vested interest in you as a person. I don't know who you are. I don't know who's watching this. But what I can tell you is that because I don't have a vested interest, you're going to get the actual truth from me, like right now, the whole truth. So when sellers would say before that it cost me 6% to sell my house, it doesn't really cost you 6% to sell your house. First of all commissions are negotiable, all of them. Your listing agent commission is negotiable. Your buyer agent commission is negotiable. It was customary in the past that sellers would often offer all or part of a commission to a buyer agent to bring them to the table. Now, what we would normally see is they would offer a full amount to the listing agent over here, and the listing agent will say, I'm going to break this piece off and I'm going to pay over here to the buyer agent. And the seller said, well, why am I paying somebody to negotiate against me? And how come I didn't know you? I thought you were keeping 6%. You're not? Wait, why am I paying the buyer? So it became very confusing very easily, as you can see. So now with these changes from this lawsuit, what are you going to see? There's two main parts to this that you're going to see. First of all, sellers are now more aware, and we're required to explain that they absolutely can negotiate commission on both sides of the table, buyer agent and listing agent. So if I go to an appointment and I share, well, our firm charges X%, then the seller can say, well, I didn't want to pay X%. I wanted to pay this percent instead. I say, okay, well, let's talk through that and what that would look like. And we have a negotiating conversation. When a buyer purchases a home, they're going to go to an agent, and the agent's going to help them with their negotiations. And part of those negotiations is going to be making sure that the buyer agent is getting paid. Before, it was always published, so it often wasn't something that really even got discussed between the buyer and the agent, which was a shame. We always discussed it with our clients because I believe that you should understand where the money goes and how we get paid, and I will stand by that forever. But not everybody does that, let's be honest, right? So now it's required for me to talk to you about it ahead of time, and also to make sure that before we're writing an offer, we have some type of agreement in writing on what's going to be paid so that the buyer understands what they may be responsible for. That makes perfect sense. Why would I write an offer if I don't know how much I'm going to have to come out of pocket? So that's what this is intended to do, is just to have those conversations happen with the agents and their clients. Instead, we are seeing some situations where sellers will not negotiate commission until they see the offer. And there are certain steps that we as agents can take to protect you and your offer from being accepted without that commission being paid. And then you're stuck with the bill. So that's the one big change, is that negotiation for commission has to happen during or prior to, hopefully, the offer process, and making sure that the agent's getting paid, and that's part of that conversation. So there's a second part to this, which has really thrown people for a loop. Oftentimes, how do you meet your real estate agent? A lot of times you just go online and you click on some of those, giant websites that rhyme with the word pillow, and you click on it and you click to talk to the listing agent. You're not getting connected to the listing agent, first of all. No. You're getting connected to an agent that has paid Pillow to put their name on there to receive buyer information, people that may potentially have an interest in purchasing that property. So if you are a Pillow Premier agent, you may receive somebody's name and they think they're talking to the listing agent, and they're not. So when you're having this conversation, or if you go to another website and you click the link and it takes you to an agent, what does that relationship look like? You don't know them yet. So you say, hey, Mr. Agent, I'd like to go and see this house at blah, blah, blah street. And they say, sure, no problem, that's great. According to the National Association of Realtors' recent settlement, we are required to put our agency agreement in writing prior to the showing. I'm sorry, what? You want me to sign up with you as my agent and I have never even met you yet? Yeah, that's what we're saying. There are ways around that. There are not around the document. You need to sign the document if you want to see a house. There are ways around having a long-term relationship with a buyer agent that you don't know yet. Maybe you sign it for just that property. Maybe you sign the agreement so that you can work with other agents also. Maybe you can sign the agreement for 30 days, right? There are options there on how to sign that agreement. So I've had a lady call me and say, I'd like to see a house. And I said, okay. And I'd be happy to take you to see it. And she said, well, first I'd like some information. And she wanted quite a bit of information. So I started looking into it. It was a Sunday afternoon. It happened to be rainy out. And I was like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and pull this stuff up and send it to her. So I went ahead and pulled it all up and sent it to her. Now I had already told her that she would be required to sign the buyer agency agreement prior to going in to see the home. And she said, well, I really don't prefer to do it electronically. Can you bring it with you and we'll sign it in person? I said, sure, no problem. So while I started doing this research and work for her, I prepared a buyer agency agreement so that she could sign it in person when we arrived at the house. So I pulled up the next day to the house and I had sent her all this documentation she was looking for. And I noticed that she wasn't in her car. And I thought, huh. So I pull up, Jeff's with me, and we get out of the car and we're like, hello. We're looking all around the house and we go notice that there's a door open going into the back half of the house. There are lights on. So we walk back and say hello, and this older lady and her older husband come out and they say, oh yeah, we're in here, we're looking around. I said, well, I'm gonna have to ask you to step out front. We can review this document and then I'd be happy to tour the home with you. And the husband says, we're not reviewing and we're not signing anything. And I said, can I ask what happened? What changed your mind? And he said, we called our agent and she told us we don't have to. So if you have an agent, first you should be contacting your agent. That's their job to help you. They're getting paid to help you. So you really should contact them directly. But okay, fine. Unfortunately, I do need to have the agreement signed in order to show you the property. And he says to me, do you want the sale or not? I said, well, you just said that you have another agent. So I follow the law and the regulations state that I need to have this signed by you before showing you the property. I would really love to show it to you. But unfortunately, this is the way it works right now. And he told me that, he said, what does it mean? I said, well, it means that I'm going to tour this home with you. I'm going to give you the information that I've already given you and help you out. And you understand in return, if you decide to purchase this home, that you would use my services and I would help you through the process. He said, well, I have an agent. Okay. First, I wanted to know, where was that agent on a Sunday afternoon when I was doing the research on the property? And he said when he called his agent, she told him that, no, you do not need to sign any kind of agreement. So there are agents out there that are not requiring it. And let me be clear, That's against regulation. And if they'll break a regulation to potentially lose their license, what will they care about you losing? Nothing. They won't care. They just won't. Doesn't mean they won't take care of their clients, but you're running a risk. They're willing to break the rules. I don't know. I just wouldn't want that person representing me. So, while sometimes you got to push the rules a little bit and make sure you're taking care of people, and you got to kind of jump through some loopholes and make sure they're good, your clients are taken care of, everybody's happy, and push your boundaries a little bit. That's how you grow. When it comes to a strict regulation that clearly states you will lose your license, you don't do that. That's your livelihood. And I would expect any client of mine to understand that and know that. I work very, very hard to provide information to people. So the second piece to that puzzle is, if you want to see a house, you do have to sign an agreement with that agent to see property. So you may want to ask for a non-exclusive agency agreement, which allows you to work with other agents. You may want to ask for a shorter term for that agreement, like maybe 30 days, or you might want to ask them to write it for that specific property only, so that they take you to see that house. If you buy that house, you would work with that agent. That gives you a chance to get to know them a little bit more, and it gives you an opportunity to see if they work well with you. And that's really the bottom line. Agents don't have to go to work for you until you hire them on paper. And if that's the case, then I want you to hire me on paper, because I don't want to just show you a house. I want to give you everything I've got on it. And I want to make sure that you're getting exactly what you need to make a decision about that property. So these are some of the new NAR guidelines. Please drop in your comments below. What do you think about them? Do you think it's ridiculous? Do you think it's something that's going to go away in a couple of months? Do you think it's great because it protects people? Do you think that it's clearer than it was before? Or do you feel like now the water's a little more muddy? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Please don't forget to give us a call. We're here to help you with all of your real estate needs. I would absolutely love to tell you about our city here in Charlotte and to show you around if you're looking for a home. We'll talk to you soon.